very different experiences, right? Like you're 18, I'm 31, my first kid's born, almost
Mhm.
32, I have good job, like I've been in the marketplace for a long time. I'm confident in myself, and I'm in a stable relationship. We've been married.
Welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast, where we bring to you the most successful, happy, fulfilled gentlemen from around the world who have been able to conquer themselves, their life, their marriage, and their businesses. You will be learning from four-dimensional gentlemen who have cracked the code to the science of having it all. The question is, how can married entrepreneurs with kids become gentlemen, achieve true freedom, and build a successful, happy, and fulfilled life, marriage, and business? This show will give you the answer for that. My name is Alex Ramirez, and I'm your host, and you're welcome to the Gentleman Success, Happiness, Fulfillment Talk podcast.
I love it. Got it.
Cool, man. So look, I know. I said like I want this conversation to be, like just like a normal conversation. I normally do my introduction and stuff like that, but yeah. So man, the Gentleman's SHF Talk with Alex Ramirez. So SHF means success, happiness, and fulfillment, right? And I'm trying to help men become what I call modern gentlemen, right? And the reason for that, and this is gonna be good because like I haven't told my audience and my story on my podcast, so I'm gonna tell it to you, and my audience is gonna give the chance to hear my story. So man,
Perfect.
like the reason I'm doing this, man, is because when I was 14 years of age, so I come from this background, from generations of mediocrity and drug addiction and alcoholism and broken families, right? Like this is where I come from, right? And at 14 years of age, my dad told me, after having fucked up, the major part of his life, after going through like 7 or more broken families, so 7 different kids that I know of, with 7 different women, being a drug addict and alcoholic, for the major part of his life. After all of that, I was 14. He abandoned me and my mom, and when I was like 1. So I didn't grow up with him, but he told me that if you wanted to be successful, happy, and fulfilled, you needed to become a gentleman. He didn't say modern. He said a gentleman, and he said it in Spanish, right? Un caballero. He said that you needed to become a gentleman. And the way you did that was by achieving true freedom, right? And true freedom meant 4 freedoms, not just financial freedom. Everyone talks about financial freedom, right? But he said that there was 4 freedoms that you needed to achieve in order for you to be successful, happy, and fulfilled. And they needed to be achieved in a certain order, right? Physical freedom first, right? Building and optimizing body and mind. And now these are my words, right? Like now this is like, I've taken that message. You needed to, physical freedom, you need to learn how to love yourself, take care of yourself, and take care of your health, right? And then emotional and spiritual freedom. You need to know who you are, right? It's like get to know yourself, get connected with your inner higher self, that little voice within you, your conscience.
Yeah.
He calls it conscience. That's emotional and spiritual freedom. And then once you do those 2, you basically have self-mastery. And he said that once you have those 2, you can do anything, and achieving financial freedom becomes simple, right? So once you have been working, right, like your youth for the last 10 years or whatever, on those 3, physical freedom, emotional and spiritual freedom, and financial freedom, and you basically have it all. Now, now you're 30 or 35 or whatever, and you're like this man, this gentleman with an empire and everything. The only thing that you're missing is a family. And now you can give you can give yourself the opportunity to like go and find the woman that you're going to spend the rest of your life with and have kids with, build a family with, and keep on building your empire with, right? And like that would be the perfect way, because he said, he talked about health, wealth, relationships, right? He said, salud, dinero, mujeres. Like you needed to focus on your health, then you needed to focus on creating wealth, and then at last you needed to focus on woman, right? Like creating a family. So like that was the order, right? So that's what he told me at 14, and I didn't listen to him, right? Obviously, like I didn't listen to him. From 16 to 18, man, I derailed, right? So I come from this. I grew up in a border town, right, from like Mexico and the U.S. I used to go to school in Mexico, and then I used to go to school in the U.S. and live in Mexico. I would cross back and forth. And from 16 to 18, I got sucked into like my environment, right? Like I started to like do drugs and alcohol. Literally did all kinds of fucking drugs that you can think of. I was lost during those 2 years, right? Like completely lost. And I started to go down the same path that my dad went, and that his dad went, and that his dad's dad went. And I got my girlfriend pregnant, right? So I did everything backwards. Like I did the exact opposite of what he told me to do, right? I went for my which and we now call sentimental freedom, right? Being a husband and a father first, before learning how to take care of myself, before learning who I was, or even having goals, before learning how to make money. So that's what happened from 16 to 18. I was like a drug addict and alcoholic. All that I thought about was partying, and then I got my girlfriend pregnant, and there were all of these stories, right, around having a kid at a young age. So like my mom had me at like 15. And she told me growing up that if you have a kid at a young age, you're going to be a fuck up. You're not going to amount to anything great. You're going to fail, and you're not going to do anything with your life. She told me that story because, well, it was true for her, right? Like that's what happened to
That's her
her.
experience,
She
right?
felt like, yeah. So, but I believed it, right? Because she's my mom. I'm her, she's big, I'm small. She knows I don't, right? So I believe her. So when I got my girlfriend pregnant at 18 years of age, I was like, imagine how I felt, right? Like I thought that I was going to be a fuck up. I wasn't going to amount to anything great. And there was like a lot of fear and anxiety and shame around having that pregnancy. And it was the same thing with my girlfriend, who's now my wife, right? And I'm with my family. Like I didn't abandon them. I'm breaking that chain of mediocrity that I'm talking about. And we decided to go with an abortion, right? Like me and my wife decided to go with an abortion. We Googled it and stuff. And we ended up taking, or she ended up taking, because like I told her and we both agreed, like 40 some pills to abort. And then on Google and the research that we made, it said that she was going to be in pain all night, right? She was going to have a lot of pain and cramps and stuff like that. And she was going to bleed everything out. And that meant that it had worked. And that happened. So she took the pills, she bled, she was in pain all night, she couldn't sleep. So it worked, right? And that was as soon as we found out, because she didn't even get her period, right? And then we found out, we did it, and it worked, but it didn't, man. 1 month went by and she got her period, just like she normally would. Another month went by and she didn't get her period, right? So we were like, what the fuck? You're pregnant again, right? So we did it again. We did the procedure that I'm talking about again. She took more pills. She was in pain. She bled. It worked for the second time, right? So now we're like, okay, so we got to take it easy then, because we've gone through 2 abortions now, right? 1 month went by. We graduated from high school. And like during our prom and our graduation and everything, my girlfriend was my wife was wearing a tight dress. She didn't look pregnant. She didn't feel pregnant. She didn't act pregnant, right? Like we didn't even know that she was pregnant. Nobody knew. We didn't know because we thought that the abortion attempt had worked. And we graduated. Nobody knew. And then from 1 week to another, man, I was that like druggy, alcoholic, just thinking about partying and whatever, living life, right? And I became the father of a premature baby that was born at 5.5 months of gestation. That's what happened. Like that's what has me on this like journey of like self-development and being an entrepreneur and helping other men become gentlemen. So my daughter was born at 5.5 months of gestation, not 9, like they're supposed to be born, not 8 or 7 or 6, 5.5. And shit, man, like it was scary. It was painful and it was frustrating, and there was a lot of anxiety, and that's what happened, man. Right. And like I didn't believe in God before that happened, but like now I do, because I don't know how else to call that but like a miracle. Like what do you think, man?
So as you're telling me your story, man, like thinking of being an 18-year-old kid and going through all that stuff, like you shared so much, man. I have a lot, a lot to think about, actually. So, like, what specifically you're asking for my thoughts on? Because you shared about your dad, who was like gave some good advice, but wasn't there, which was crazy to me to hear. Because he wasn't. It doesn't sound like he was a present father in any way, but gave you really good, sound counsel. That you didn't follow. You go through this relationship, and then you end up getting pregnant. You think you terminate the pregnancy twice, and you end up with with a beautiful baby girl, but also the fear of like, oh no, like I have to be a man now. I can only imagine like when you held, oh, I'm gonna cry. Ha! The first time you held that baby girl, whew, how'd that feel for you?
Yeah, I was high.
Really?
I was high, man. I saw her on the NICU, you know, on the like fuck. Um, and I've already worked through all of this, right? Like I've already,
Yeah.
I think I have, right? Like forgiven myself and all of that. And I'm looking for a picture, but it's gonna be hard to find. But she was connected to all of this shit, right? To like,
Yeah, my nephew
let me
was
see if I
born.
can find it really
My
quick.
nephew was born at that same time. You know, like 5.5 weeks. Like I think it was like, or 5.5 months. It was like 29 weeks or something. You know, like or 27 weeks or something. I don't remember the exact time, but like I remember he was like the size of a dollar bill. It's like this big. They had all these
Yeah,
hooked into him. It was like I still see that picture. I'm like, man, freaking miracle baby. You know?
here it is. So look, if you know, for anyone who's watching on YouTube, I'm showing like the picture of when my baby was born. She was like plugged into a lot of stuff and tubes and little needles and stuff. So that this is how I first saw her. And when I saw her that she was born, like mom couldn't see her because she went through the surgery and she was like recovering. But I saw her, man, and I was high. Like I for some reason I decided to make myself high to consume some kind of shit before going in there, right? To sedate myself or whatever, or I don't know, but
That's exactly what I heard is like you're numbing. Like the power of the emotion of the moment's too big. I have to control it by inserting something else into my body because the emotion's too big. I'm not mature enough or where I need to be to handle it.
exactly. So I was high and man, and like this talk is about you, right? Like this podcast is about you and about how you have been how you have been able to conquer yourself, your life, your marriage, and your business. But like more than that, this is like to form a relationship and get to know each other. So that like this is why I'm talking so much about myself. Um,
I
but
love that story though, bro, because being a father is like that's my jam. That's what I'm obsessed with. Like being a dad, like part of my journey is like to give men permission to show up with passion and love for their families and their relationships. That's it. Give them permission. Because most men don't have permission, mostly because they've never seen it. And secondly, because they don't know how to show up with love and power. You know, they feel like this weird dichotomy of like who to be. And I don't have it perfected. I don't, yeah, right there, power and purpose. I don't have it perfected, right? Because I think you never master it. You know, you don't conquer business, you don't conquer family. You are conquering business, you are conquering family. But the moment you think you've got it, you don't have it anymore. Like it's a journey. There's only expansion. There's only growth. Like once you think you've won, you can stab that in. Like, oh yeah, I got this. This is solid. You've lost it. It's only a matter of time before it deteriorates because everything's evolving and growing at once. And so part of my message is like I feel like a lot of men don't get the good side of fatherhood. You know, a lot of men don't get the good side of marriage. They don't have that view. They don't have, you know, when I meet young men today, like, oh, marriage, no, man, no. Being a dad, oof, oof. And that like breaks my heart, dude. There's nothing better in this world than being a dad. You know, that's the best thing that we do. It's the only thing that matters that we do. Like it's everything else to me is ancillary to that, right? Because like I look like
mhm.
a piece of like my DNA, like my being is now like this beautiful being came through me and I have the opportunity to raise it, be a part of it, love it, teach it, you know, like and unleash it into the world, man. So like I love you. I love you opening up with your story because I didn't know any of that stuff about you. You know, you kind of hinted about some of the details. You know, I knew that you were kind of a ruffian, if you would, you know, kind of running around, but I didn't like those details are powerful. They're powerful, man. So I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. Thanks. So I do like I know that your jam is, you know, all about like parenting and marriage and all of that. So man, um usually, you know, when I go through my normal structure on my podcast, I you know, I tell my guests to like introduce themselves and talk a little bit about themselves and about what they do, their entrepreneur journey in 60 seconds or less. But man, let's dive into what you do.
Yeah.
Like,
So
you
I
know,
do,
like yeah,
yeah,
go
I do a
ahead.
couple different things, right? So I'm with the program. I'm family coach for the program because that's my jam. That's what I love. That's like honestly, that's what I'm called to do. It's not even what I want to do. It's like I have this feeling in my chest that I have to. I feel like what's his name in the Job? Not Job. Is it Job? Jonah. Jonah and the whale, right? Where he's like, nah, bro. God says, hey, go over here, and he's like, hey. I'm good. I'm gonna go over here and do something else. And he's like, yeah, I'm gonna stop you from doing that stuff because I need you over here. And that's kind of how I felt about like giving myself permission to coach dads, giving myself permission. Like, who am I? You know, I think all of us are on our own journey, right? Like, man,
Who am I?
I got to give myself permission to do this myself, right? Like, you know, so there's like that you know, imposter syndrome. And I heard somebody, you know, Cody Jefferson, right? He said imposters, true imposters
Yeah, 100%.
have imposter syndrome, right? like like true imposters, they like, oh yeah, I got this. You know, the people who are doubting themselves are the ones that are actually like are checking themselves and running themselves with the right filters. So you know, that's like my absolute, like what I love the most is my relationship with my wife and my babies. You know, that's the best thing. And so I actually run a business as well. I do digital marketing for cosmetic dentists and orthodontists, help them with Facebook ads and all their content marketing. But you know, that's what I do, but that's not who I am. You know, it's a difference, right? Like when I wake up in the morning, I'm not thinking
That's
like,
awesome.
how do I create awesome content? You know, how do I do this cool TikTok? You know, I like it. I enjoy it. It's, you know, there's great money in it. I like the community. I feel a gap there, but it's not who I am. Being a father and husband is who I am, right? And that's what I'm the most like passionate about.
Man, so for anyone that like doesn't know about the program, like what is the program?
So the program is it's a well, I should have been more prepared for that question, but the program is it's a coaching program where we help you reprogram the stories that we have, and most of the time we have stories, right? So as you're explaining like that event with your kid, right, and who you were, it's not the events that happen, it's the story you're telling yourself about what happened. Like that's more powerful than what actually happened, is what the self-worth, the self-loathing, or the doubt, or the, you know, all of those things, as opposed to, hey, this happened. Now it's time to reprogram that stuff and like get it all together. People carry stories everywhere. People carry stories in business. People carry stories, you know, like in their finances. People carry stories around their focus and around their faith, you know, religion and shame and all these different things. We have stories about it. We have stories about it with our families, you know, and we have stories about it with like our fitness as well. And it's about really being able to have it all. And the program is a place not only where we help you do that, but create a community around you to support you in being the man that you're capable of being. Because at the end of the day, like it teaches us very early in the Bible, man is not meant to be alone. And so many men feel alone and desperate. Like we literally, like it's like a feelings of quiet desperation. I think I heard Joe Rogan say on his podcast. Most men are very isolated. They don't have a community that they open up to. You know, they don't have people that support them. They don't have people who they work through their problems with emotionally or mentally or anything. It's kind of like, hey, you're on an island and you kind of just internalize everything all the time. So yeah, man, the program is a place for men to really reach that next level, turning six figures in profit to 7 figures in purpose. Because it's cool to have six figures in profit, but having 7 figures in purpose is way cooler.
Which is what you're talking about right now, like that thing that you feel called to do. Like it's not even something that you want to do. It's just something that like you feel you have to do. Man, so like, how do you find that? Like, how do you? Because I mean, you know, like a lot of men want to have purpose, right? Like they want to feel powerful and they want to feel like they you know, they're living with purpose and with intention. So like me, like this gentleman thing, like this is something that I feel like I'm called to do it. Like I feel like I have to do it. I was actually having a talk with this gentleman actually 2 days ago, and he told me that I had to get clear on what do you want, right? Like this very important question that the majority of the population doesn't know. What do you want? And he told me that I had to get really clear because I told him my story, and he probably he thought, right? He was guessing that this is something that my dad wants for me to want, but no, like this is something that I want, and I think I'm very clear about it. He kind of made me doubt, but then I was like, no, like this is what I want, like this is what I need to do, this is what I have to do. So, and I have my own like story of how I came to know that this was what I wanted, like help men become modern gentlemen and have it all. This, you know, I have my own like process or story, if you will, to how I came across this purpose. But like, what about you? Like, how do you like find your purpose? How do you get connected with yourself in such a way that you know that this is just like something that you're called to do?
You know, I'm probably not the best person that asked that question to, because I didn't find my purpose. My purpose found me. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, I feel
Cool.
like a lot of men do a lot of soul searching, you know, like, and they get,
Mm-hmm.
and we're trying to figure out what's my purpose. Like, it found me, man. It's like, I've always wanted to be a dad. Like, dude, I had a great dad. I had a great upbringing. Um, and like, I've always wanted to be a dad. The moment I held my baby, whew, something in me shifted. And I couldn't look at the world the same way. Like,
How come?
I you know,
I wanted to fucking die, man. Like
yeah,
when I
for
first,
me,
you
yeah,
know.
we had very different experiences, right? You know, like you're 18, I'm 31. You know, my first kid's born, uh, almost
Mhm.
32. You know, I have good job. You know, like I've been in the marketplace for a long time. I'm confident in myself, and I'm in a stable relationship. We've been married for like 5, 6 years, and like, you know, when I first held him, and I'll share a little bit deeper on the story in the next couple of days in Nashville with you, but like, something came over me, man. Like, it's something I'd looked forward to my entire life, and I remember him sitting back there, opening his eyes for the first time, and just looking around, peeping the whole scene, like, and just, whew, this little being. It is the first time, like, you talked about faith in God. Like, it was the first time, like, I believe that, like God loves me in all my
Mhm.
imperfections. Like, I'm His son. You know, I'm a child of God, and if I can love that kid like this, how does that guy feel about me? As imperfect and as flawed as I am, like, no matter what this kid does, like, that's my baby boy, you know. And my role as a father is to, like, lead him, guide him, walk beside him, you know, help him find his way, right? So I don't know. I just had this overwhelming feeling of connection to
Mhm.
both God and to this little baby, and it's just like, I realized not everybody had that. You know, I realized that it wasn't the normal experience. You know, not everybody has that moment, like you said. Like, man, whew, you know, your experience is very
I
different
wanted
than,
to run away.
yeah, exactly. And a lot of men have that feeling, or they don't have that, and they feel like they wanted it and they didn't get it. So now they're like, man, maybe this isn't all that, or whatever it may be. And the more I've been talking to men, I open up real quick. You know, I'm not afraid to share true thoughts, true feelings, like deep desires, and I've realized not everybody's like that, you know. And I've realized, like, it's a it. I feel like these days men get a lot of shit, it's kind of dump on man days, and it's like it's kind of our fault. Like, you know, we haven't shown up as powerful. We haven't shown up with power and purpose for a long time. There's a lot of men that drift through life, and man, for me, it's like, if you're a dad, you don't have room. Like, you don't have room to drift. My
Yeah.
purpose is my family, right? And so I don't know, man. And I had this voice, like, saying, "Hey, you got to share this." I'm like, share what? I don't even know if I'm a good dad. Like, the jury's still out. You know, like, I don't. You know, maybe after I get my money right, or maybe after I get, you know, maybe after my kids are out of the house and they're winning, and it's like, and oh, it's crazy. I literally ran from. I felt this way for, you know, 3.5 years. And before I was finally like, fine, I'll start sharing about this. I'll start coaching on this. Like, fine, like, I will give into this calling, you know. And to be honest, I felt like a lot of the other stuff that I was trying to, like, go on, I felt misalignment because I didn't have internal alignment. You know, not everybody gets their purpose. You know, not everybody is called. You know, some people have to find it, right? And for me, I felt like it found me, and I was running from it. And I felt like, you know, as I'm doing other things and other businesses, how can I be aligned in a company and in a vision if I'm not aligned internally with my own? And
Yeah.
so finding that own alignment was like, whew, it was powerful, man. It was powerful, you know. So
Man, so how come like, how come you didn't want to step into your purpose? You know, like, apart from that misalignment within yourself, you know, like, what else was holding you back from, because you said 3 years passed, right? Until you actually
yeah,
decided to start helping men with what you felt like was your purpose. So what was holding you back from doing it earlier?
fear, you know, fear.
Fear.
The same
Crazy,
thing.
right?
fear of criticism, right? Fear of like, am I good enough? You know, am I the guy? You know, there's so many better guys out there. There's so many people I look up to as dads. Like, man, he should just. I'm taking all this light from him. You know, like who am I to shine my light next to that guy's light, right? Like who am I to like
Mm-hmm.
take permission, right? There's kind of the internal story of like, or not, who am I, or how does it work? Like what, like not who do I be? What do I do? I think those are very distinctive questions, especially when it comes to fatherhood and business. It's who you're being more than what you do. And lots of times I feel like as we get drowned in tactics and we're not being the right person, but we're doing the right things, we'll also get stuck. And so for me, I was very focused on the tactical, like the how. Like, do I need to monetize this? Do I need to do this? Do I need to become like a, you know, do I want to be like a Garrett White, or do I want this? Or, you know, like, but you know what? It doesn't matter. Like, I just got to give men permission to show up. You know, I got to give men permission to do that. And I got to do that first by giving myself permission to do that. And once that kind of came to me on like, I don't need to have all the how figured out, you know, it became a lot easier for me. So really fear of criticism, man. You know, who am I? You know, what are people going to say about me? What are people going to think about me? You know, I'm not perfect. You know, sometimes I'm not. I feel like I'm a great husband, but there's sometimes also fear criticism from my wife. You know, like I'm not here telling men how to be great husbands, and sometimes I drop the ball. You know, like sometimes I'm not. I look at myself and my own imperfections on some of the things that you know I want to do and how I want to be with her, and it's like, man, is my wife going to think I'm a phony, or is she going to like? It's kind of like calling myself forth, like putting your cards on the table and stepping in the game, right? Where you have to be actually vulnerable and make it happen. So part of it was like, man, is my wife going to look at me like, well, yeah, you're saying this, but your date night last week was shit. You know, you're saying you got to seduce your wife, but like, you know, you sometimes you drop the ball, you know, and like at the end of the day, I have permission, I give my best, and it's a progress. You know, it's give myself permission to progress and not think I have to be perfect to share what's inside of me. And I feel like a lot of people have that, right? They feel like they have that quest for perfection, and so that quest for progress. And it's giving myself that permission to progress and stand exactly where I'm at and own it, as opposed like, hey, when I got my money completely figured out, when I know exactly what I'm doing as a dad, when I know exactly what I have, when I'm perfect, now I can shine. And like, you know, I believe in the Bible, and like our purpose is let our light shine. Like, and that's what it is, no matter how bright or how dim. And it can't get brighter unless you shine it.
Cool. It's crazy, man. So, like fear, right? Like doubting yourself, trying to validate, like who am I? Because like who am I to help married entrepreneurs with kids become modern gentlemen, right? Right? Like
Yeah.
you right? So and like and the one thing that was keeping me from starting this amazing podcast that is gonna change thousands of lives, because one podcast changed my life, right? And I'm betting that this podcast is gonna change like thousands of other married entrepreneurs with kids' lives. And like the one thing that was keeping me from starting this, man, was belief. Just like who am I, right? To who am I to be like this guy who has a podcast that I'm listening to, or believe that like no one's gonna want to talk, you know, no one's gonna want to have a talk with me, or just belief. That was the one thing that was keeping me from starting the podcast. And like a
Stories,
couple of
right?
months in now,
It's those
yeah,
stories.
yeah. And this is what you guys help men do at the
Yeah.
program, right?
Yeah.
Reprogram those stories.
Programming, man, because most of them are bullshit anyway. Like 99% of them. Because who are you, bro? You're
Exactly,
a
man.
powerful
So
young man, bro. You got a different perspective on life and you're showing up. And one thing I've noticed, everybody I look up to at the same point in time, they were me at some point in time. I know it. I know a lot of them very personally.
mhm.
And like I know they didn't always have the certainty that they have now. I know they're ready to burn their businesses down. I know they were ready to I know where they've been in their marriages. I know where they've been with their kids. I know where they've been. And like at the end of the day, they had to have that belief and that calling more than anything, right? And so the other piece of it was like looking at them and being like, okay, was Cody Jefferson always Cody Jefferson? Was he the Cody Jefferson I know now when he started? Was Garrett White when he started? Was Tony Robbins when he started? I'm not even like trying to be them, right? But at the end of the day, it helps me relieve my own criticism of myself to share what I'm so passionate about, right? To share the things that I love. You know, what's interesting is like the passion is what people like come towards, right? The energy is undeniable. The energy is like, it's powerful, right? And so it's not so much the tactics. Like everybody's trying to have tactics, quick hacks, do these 7 things and it's going to work. No, there's no magic pill or magic number. Like a big piece of everything, just like you said earlier, is the belief. You know, having the belief that, you know what, even if I impact 1,000 or even if I impact 100, it's inside of me, and I need to put it out here. Like it's in my chest, I need to get it out, right? And I need, like, if I serve 1,000 people, if I serve 5, you know, I don't really care. You know, my dad always tells the story about like the sand dollars that wash up on shore. There's like thousands of them, and if they don't make it back to the ocean, like they die. So his grandpa's walking across like the beach there with his grandkid, and he's picking them up one by one, and he's throwing them back in the ocean. And he's explaining this to his grandson. He's like, "Well, you're not even doing anything." And he picked up the next one and he said, "Hey, it mattered to that one." Picked up the next one, and he threw it back in the ocean. Said, "It mattered to that one." And like each individual that we help by doing what we can and being our true authentic self, like that's one more than we're helped yesterday. You know what I mean?
Exactly, man. Yeah. And man, I talk a lot about this idea that you don't have business problems, that you have no, that you don't have, yeah, that you don't have business problems, that you have personal problems reflecting in your business, right? And then I call the 4 things that I help men with freedoms, right? Physical freedom, emotional and spiritual freedom, sentimental freedom, and financial freedom. And you know, I talk about this concept that you don't have problems with your financial freedom, right? And that's hard to believe when the rent and bills are due every single month. But you know, like the reality is that you may have problems with your relationships, you may have problems with your mindset, with who you believe yourself to be, you may have problems with your energy or like your body composition or whatever. So, you know, with this in mind, right? For a lot of men, their family is like an anchor for them, right? Like their family is like something that holds them back and slows them down. You know, like their family is like something that makes them feel like they're not free, right? So at least that's how I felt, right? But the reality is that like my wife and my kids they have been they have been like the biggest and the most powerful motivator for me, right? And like what have allowed me to like shrink time, right? And to achieve in a couple of years what takes most of my lifetime or never even get to achieve. So like what are some of the stories or the problems that you see or you know that men have around their family, right? Since like you deal with that part of things.
Yeah, that first one that you said is an anchor, right? It's an anchor. Like that's the problem. Not an anchor, like the sail. Like that's the engine, not the anchor. And I feel like a lot of with the pressure that men have. So I'll tell a story real quick. I think you'll like it. So I'm doing one of these beach beat downs, right? Personal development, experiential learning, where they kind of put you through some physical shit. And one of the challenges, we have to throw a sandbag on, and we have to go like 100 yards down and 100 yards back. Sandbags can't touch the ground. Nobody's sandbag can touch the ground. And if one of us fail, we all fail, right? I'm fit, you know, just I'm back, I'm done, I'm ready. And there's this one dude who he couldn't even carry his sandbag, right? He could barely lunge, like he's a big dude. And so I had to hold his bag, right? And what's funny is I wasn't mad that because I didn't have the strength. I was annoyed that I was required to utilize all of my strength. And I feel like with men, they view their family as like that extra thing that they don't need to exert their strength on, right? Like you're at the office, you're working all day, you're draining all your energy, and you get home and it's like they're getting the leftover you, and you're almost annoyed that you have to be present there. And at the end of the day, you're not mad that you don't have the strength, you're mad that you have to use it. And I feel like a lot of men disconnect like their purpose in life, the purpose in any, like if we want to go from like biology, it's to like exert all of your strength. That's your purpose, is to exert all of the strength that you have. And like when you like fatigue makes us cowards. And when you have that moment where it's time to be the man in your home, or it's time not, it's really easy. You don't have any instant feedback. If you don't show up to work, guess what? You lose money. If you don't show up at home, you have to get off. And the next day, and the next day, and the next day, and the next day. Next thing you know, like you're like your relationships are falling apart. You don't have the relationship that your wife that you want. You know why? Because you're not focused on it. Because there's nothing bad that happens when you don't. You're reserving your strength for the next day rather than expending all your strength so you can gain more. That's why I see like one of the biggest challenges with men around their families is that. And the second thing, entitlement. I feel like the more I've started like coaching and shining my light this way in like a more public forum, but I have people who call me like every day, like legit, probably 3 days a week. I get calls from old friends and new friends about like challenges with their relationship, right? Like, oh man, I'm struggling with this, or my wife said that, you know, and the there's an entitlement. Like, I'm doing all these things, so I shouldn't have to do these things too. I'm paying the bills, I'm checking the boxes, I've created this life. Like, this should be my solace. This should be my safe place, my sanctuary. Like, that's why we need groups. We need a sanctuary, right? We do. We need a place where we can go to like unload and be fully seen, fully heard, and fully known. But the home is as much of a battlefield as anywhere. Your biggest impact is gonna happen right here. When dad gets home, he sets the tone, right? That's the mantra. Dad gets home, he sets the tone. And when it's time to be with the kids, it's time to be with the wife, it's time to show the strength that you're withholding. You know, like, so that's why I see, and so number one, like entitlement. Number two, like the story that this is an anchor, not a sail. And then lastly, like, think, if you're like, let's say your wife left you, right? Worst case scenario, your wife leaves you, you're out in the market again. You're interested in a woman. How do you treat her? How do you show up for date night? How do you woo her?
Yeah.
What text message do you send? Well, if you're willing to do that for a new one, why aren't you willing to do that for the one that you have?
That's crazy, right? And like, how do you solve that? Like, because I mean, because it's hard to actually implement that, right? So how do you get yourself around? I don't know, because I mean, I know that like, when I get home at night, like I do feel tired. So like that idea that you just shared with me, man, like that's crazy. Like then you think that I'm withholding myself energy. I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying that you're accusing me or anything, but like,
think. At the gym, you tell yourself you're going to do 10 reps. You're at 7 and you're burning, but you told yourself you're going to do 10, and you know you're going to find strength to do those last 3 reps. For some reason, our relationship's like 7's good, bro. 7's good.
No.
I got it. You know, I got it. I've checked all these boxes. I do enough, rather than what more can I do?
And that's the entitlement piece as well, right?
Yeah. Well, for
that's
me,
enough.
You said, how do you fix that? It's a lack of perspective. It's a lack of perspective. So a couple years ago, I had a very successful buddy of mine, probably like, one of the, like, the dude that I'm close with, like, we're super, super close, and he's super, super wealthy. So he came to me, and he was having challenges in his marriage. Said, hey man, I'm thinking about burning it down. And I was like, why? It's like, well, I think it might just be easier to start over. I literally laughed out loud. You got a wife, you got kids, you're anchored in, you have all this stuff. You think it's going to be easy for you to split time with your kids. You think it's going to be easy when your beautiful wife remarries another man and he's impacting your kids on a day-to-day basis. You think it's going to be easy when you're writing child support and alimony checks. You're trading one set of problems for another because the problem is you. Like, you'll take all these stories, but what you created now is exactly what you create later. It's a perspective thing. It's understanding that, like, yeah, a day off doesn't matter, but most men don't take one day. Thanks for carrying the ship at home, babe. They'll kind of take their relationship for granted for years, right? It's very common, right? You coach entrepreneurs, it's very common for them to let that stay dormant because it's not urgent. But if you look at the box, like Stephen Covey has, like the important, urgent, like your relationship isn't in the like urgent
box. It's urgent, but it's important.
Until it's in the urgent box. Until you've neglected it over here long enough that over here it's like, now it's urgent. And now it's like, well, shoot, maybe I just restart. And I feel like a lot of men struggle with that, you know, with that understanding that the perspective of not doing the day-to-day and not doing the week-to-week and not making your wife feel like you would if you met her for the first time, right? Like the amount of attention and focus and love that you're willing to shell out when you're dating versus when you have a legal contract that says you're together, it's crazy to me, man. We just kind of forget. We kind of forget. We lose perspective on who that person really is. And it goes both ways, right? Right now I'm making it sound like it's all men, but for me, I believe that like when dad's home, he sets the tone. If I bring my energy and love and with no expectations, I swear my wife like tenfolds that every time. Like it may not happen immediately like I want, right? But like the amount of love I get back in return is insane. And I feel like the more men I've coached, the more I've seen that happen time and time again, And if you're not in alignment, and if you're maybe you do it for a long time, sometimes it takes a while to repair damaged relationships. It's possible that you're in the wrong one. But for the most part, I find very few times where a man consistently shows up for his woman where she doesn't make it like where his life isn't 10 times better, where he's not supported like 100%.
And man, and this is when, like communities like the program and and men like you and me become really important, because like I felt like, like the need of burning everything down, of abandoning my family and like thinking that I'm going to be better alone without them. But that's a fucking lie, because if I really like dig deep into who I am and to who I'm trying to become and like what is it that I really want, which is I want to become a modern, what I call a modern gentleman and have it all, right? Like the reality is that I want to be there for my family. But then there's this like stories that come up in my mind, right? That tell me that, oh, it would be easier to restart all over again, to burn everything down to the ground, to just abandon my family. Everything would be easier, everything would be more smooth, everything would be more simple. I would be able to be free and do whatever the fuck I want. And then negative emotions come up right here in my chest, in my heart, that made me feel like what I want is like to burn everything down. But the reality is that if I ask my conscience, like, I don't know, the voice, God or whatever, like, if I ask that person that I'm trying to be authentically, I don't want that. Like, I want to be with my family and I want to, like have it all and show up, right? And set the tone. And if it wasn't for men like you, and if it wasn't for like the program, like I wouldn't be able to like resolve those issues. So like that's when like the program and other men that other third party perspectives become really important.
You can't overlook the tribe, because like you have a place that where someone will hold space for you, let you say your truth. This is what I'm feeling. This is the negative energy in my heart, and then hold you to that person. Come to me with that, dude. I'll hold space for you. Tell me you're like pissed off to your wife, that you're like you're struggling with your kids and all that stuff. That's you need to be able to share that, and then you need someone to hold you accountable to this person, because it's hard, because we know who, like, I know who you're trying to be. I'm not going to let you be this little bitch. Like, I don't associate with people who want to be like this, the current version of themselves, or give into that voice, right? So I'm going to hold you accountable up here to that level, not down here to like, oh hey, cool man, like I think you're right. Maybe you should. That seems like a good idea. But someone still needs to hear you. Like, you need to be fully heard, fully seen, and fully known, like as a man, and then being held to the man that you can be. I call it, like, I don't hold people accountable, I hold them powerful.
Cool.
So we hold you powerful to the man that you can be.
And so I'm at the point that, like, in my relationship with my wife, conflict equals connection. Like, I look forward to conflict. So like yesterday night, like we were discussing, and like my daughter is 2 years old. She's there watching how we handle conflict, right? But like growing up, I grew up with stepdads and stuff. But I never saw my stepdads and my mom, like have any conflict. And when they did it, it was like fuck, that was like it blew out, it blew up. And like yesterday we were having conflict, right? Like we were discussing, right? We were discussing problems, and I was enjoying it, man. I was like feeling grateful because of how well we were doing it. Like, we were talking about money, we were talking about sex, we were talking about all kinds of things that we were not satisfied with. And I just felt grateful because it was cool, it was fun, right? And like it brought us closer together. And then like we brought up problems, we brought up our concerns and things that we didn't like and that we wanted to change. We addressed them, We worked through them, and then at the end of that, like we were feeling good, right? And I felt really grateful for that, right? So, like, what would you say to like men who avoid conflict, or what are you getting from this?
I love that you brought that up, because I feel like so many men avoid conflict. That's like the purpose of the argument, is to end the argument, right? If there's a conflict, the
Mm-hmm.
purpose for a man usually is to end the argument. I mean, we both read Way of the Superior Man. Like, that's like my Bible, right? Like, I love that
Yeah.
book. It's incredible. But like, that's the worst possible thing that you can possibly do, is avoid conflict. Because just like you need to be fully seen, fully heard, and fully known, like your woman needs the same stuff, and she needs it from you. Like, she needs it from you. And so with the conflict, she needs to feel like she can fully express like how she's feeling. And she needs to know that you can handle it. You can handle the rain. Like, what are you avoiding conflict for? We're like, I feel like women are the perfect mirror. They like pull it up in our lives, right? Like, think about that. If you're avoiding conflict with your woman, with a woman who's given you her life, or children, or somebody who's entrusted you with like her emotions, it's like, where else are you avoiding conflict? Where else are you avoiding the thing that's going to make you the man? And in most cases, it's like everywhere else. It's like someone shows up in power and business, and they handle conflict everywhere, and they handle all their battles, and they show up home and they're like, oh yeah, like I'm avoiding conflict here. No, it's showing up elsewhere. And to be honest, I feel like it's like a huge turnoff for your wife if you're avoiding like conflict. Like, you're avoiding me. You're avoiding my spirit. You're avoiding my emotions. Like how can you even handle yourself out there? Like,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's something subconscious. Women they're perfect mirrors, man. I swear, they pick up on energy so good. And I love what you shared. Like, you had like, my wife and I, we don't have a lot of conflicts. I actually wish we had more. I feel like sometimes she bottles a little bit more, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But we had a big one, like a really big one last week. And like, what I said and what was heard were very different things, like very, very different things. Or let me rephrase that. What I intended my message to be like was not received. What she heard was completely different. And we had one of the
From
best.
what you actually meant.
Was that?
So what you said was received very different from what you actually meant. That's what,
Yes.
right?
Or what I thought I said, who cares? I got to own the impact. Like, I could have been very
Okay.
clear. That's what
Okay.
she heard. I got to own the impact of my words, right? Like, you can't own the intention, because we all have, like, who
Mm-hmm.
cares what you intended? Your impact is what you have to own, right? So like, whether or not I said it right, or whether or not she heard it wrong, it doesn't matter. The impact was, she felt very invalidated and very like diminished by the things that I said. And I was like, how did we get here? Like, I have no idea how we got here. But at the end of the day, like, it opened up an opportunity for us to like really share, and to really both be heard, seen, and known, and really connect. And like, I feel like it was an incredible conversation, but it came through like a very, very like big conflict. I was up like, I had to travel the next morning at like 6, and I was up to like 2, like solving this all out, because I have a rule, like, I don't travel on bad terms. Like, I'll cancel a trip. No way. Like, that's not how we're gonna go. I'm not gonna let an infection fester. Like, that's not gonna work for me. So yeah, and it was incredibly powerful. So I do believe that conflict absolutely leads to connection. And like, I feel like the biggest mistake men make is the desire to shut down the conflict as soon as possible. How do I solve this problem? Okay, we're done. Like, that's half the problem. I
Or winning the conflict, right?
You never win. So one of the things I talk about, you can't dunk on your woman, right? What do we got to do? There's no such thing as winning in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Either
Exactly.
we
I'm
either we
actually
win.
reading this book.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Okay. So I'm actually reading this book about the infinite mindset, right? So, like marriage, just like business, is something that is infinite. Like there's no finish line to marriage and business, right? And you lose when you are playing with a finite mindset, thinking that you're gonna win, or that you want to dunk on your marriage, right? But in reality, it's a infinite game, and you got to play with an infinite mindset. And like there's no, like when you're trying to just end the conflict, like there's no conflict to be ended, or where you're trying to win the argument, like there's no argument to win, because like if you are married to that person, you're literally committed to her for the rest of your life. So like you're playing an infinite game with a finite mindset, which leads to a lot of unfulfillment and unhappiness.
Dude, completely. Because at the end of the day, like, I want my wife to have an incredible life. I want her to feel loved, empowered, smart. Like it's funny because I feel like like when we want to be right, and sometimes we can't be completely right. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It doesn't matter if I'm right and I'm diminishing her, or if I'm like hurting her feelings. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, I can be totally right about something 100%, but if I can't enroll her to this piece, it doesn't matter. And like, if there's never a time where it's like, oh, like I feel like when men are trying to end the conflict, we're like trying to set it up so that we won't have conflict in the future. See, I'm right. Like, no, like, it'll never work. Matter of fact, the next time she can come at you even harder because you didn't feel like you listened the first time. So the next issue is, she can pile all that emotion from the first time back onto you. And yeah, so we one of the things I think we do really well is we fight. You know, like we fight good, like we fight fair. I never take a dig at her. I never take a shot at her. I never say like, oh, you do this, or you always do that, or you suck at this. And she never does the same to me. We don't take personal shots. We focus on the issue and give each other space to like learn and grow. Because like, I'm not perfect, and neither is she. And if I want her to perceive me as perfect, I'm gonna have a tough time trying to be perfect, you know, and vice versa. So I feel like the fighting piece and the conflict piece, like you read in the book, Way Superior Man, like, it's like the weather. You can't get mad at the weather. Enjoy the rain, enjoy the snow, enjoy the sunshine, enjoy the fall, enjoy the cool breeze, enjoy the heated summers. And if you're not, like, you can't get mad at the weather. And that's how women are. Like, there's a depth of emotions, and we're like, oh, blah blah blah. It's crazy. Like, when I hear a dude call a woman crazy, I hear a man who like can't enjoy the rain.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Insecure about his own craziness.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Because like, if I'm not sane, how am I gonna call someone else crazy? Like, I feel like I'm all over the place too. I'm figuring out like life. You know, I have highs and lows and different things and different emotions. Like, how the heck am I supposed to expect her not to? You know, and I got a place to go. You know, like, I got multiple people that I can share my truth with and get advice and get counsel from. Like, I got to create that space for my wife in my home. And part of the reason I'm so passionate about marriage is because, like, that's the cup. The lens that your kids view the world will be through what they see from you and see from your relationship. My kid's gonna model my marriage. And if I'm a dick of a husband who's like trying to dunk on my wife, that's gonna happen. If my wife is a berater, my kid's gonna get berated his whole life, right? Because he's gonna view that as the model for marriage. So part of it's like, I'm creating an environment, and like, the soil for my kids to grow is my relationship. Doesn't matter where I live. It doesn't matter what we eat. It doesn't matter like the money. Like, it is the relationship. It's the energy that they're going to consume and feel, and it's the energy that they're going to recreate after they're out of your care.
Yeah, man, that was amazing. I really like this part that you brought up, man. And man, so we're running out of time. I'm really enjoying this conversation, and I always end these conversations with 5 questions.
All right.
So, and can I go ahead and ask?
Yeah, if you want to end, bro, I'll give you as much time as you want. Like, if it's time to wrap up, it's time to wrap up. I'll go 5 questions.
Thanks, man. Thanks. Thank you very much. I really appreciate it. So the first question is, you know, and let's keep it around like the family, right?
All right.
If you could go back in time, right? Like, not to redo your life or whatever, just to like give yourself, your 18-year-old self, some advice, what would you say to him? And specifically around family, right? Not around business or anything like that, around family.
So a big part of being in a relationship is your relationship with yourself. It's hard to receive love when you don't love yourself. You know, so that would be my message to him, actually. You know, like, love yourself. Like, love yourself enough that you require it from everybody else. Have the belief in yourself that you're worthy, that you don't require the approval or stamp of everybody else. That, like, if a girl doesn't like you or whatever, this or that, like, it's cool, man. You got enough love for both of you. You know, love yourself would be the biggest thing, because I feel like it's one of the hardest things to do, right? We're our biggest critics. That voice in our head, that story, it's so loud. It's literally like imprinted on our subconscious most of the time. So like that's what I tell my 18-year-old self, man, is just love yourself. You're worthy.
And then how do you do that?
Well, so I do a bit. I do a bit, like I'm big on affirmations. You know, I'm big on, there's this other book, I can't even say the title. It's Ho'oponopono, I think is what it's like, a Hawaiian book of self-love. And it's like part of the journey in there is like to look yourself in the mirror. It's weird, bro. It's gonna sound really like hoorah. But like, I'm sorry. Like,
Forgiving yourself.
yeah.
And that's the
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry.
one of those steps.
Yeah, will you forgive me? Thank you. I love you. I believe those are the four. I'm on the spot right now, so I probably screwed it up a little bit. But I'll literally go through it's like a book that's like this big. It's tiny, but it's like looking myself in the eye and like having some grace for myself. And the other thing that helps me out is with my kids. If the internal voice in my head, if anybody spoke to my kids that way, I'd beat them to death. If anybody was as mean to my kids as the voices in my head, woo. But I'm someone's kid, man. Like I'm my father's kid. I'm God's kid, right? So like having that internal dialogue to love, to give myself permission to love myself the same way I love my kid is a big deal. Speaking of which, I think
Exactly, man. And look, and this is so you know, I've been having quite a few conversations just you know with other men, and I actually wrote this down the other day because this same thing came up, loving yourself. And he told me this, and I wrote it here. So he said, oh, where is it? He said, you have nothing to prove or nothing to defend. You're worthy just as you are. Right? And he said, love yourself and accept yourself, but like do it from, like do it from like really do it, like really believe it and really do it, not just like at a superficial level. And like that's when you can go off and create anything that you want, when you truly love yourself, when you don't need anyone's validation or anyone's acceptance, and you don't need it for anyone to basically prove who you are.
I love that.
And he said that was when everything changed for him. And I agree.
Yeah, I love that, man. It's the same. It's under the same premise.
Alrighty, man. So let's see. The second question. I'm sorry. Yeah.
We had a little feedback right there. You froze for a second. I heard you. Are we clear now? You got me now?
Yeah, cool. We're clear now. Yeah. So, yeah, man. So loving yourself then.
Yeah, that's the advice I'd give like my young self, because young me was like, man, I needed people to like me. Man, I needed people to approve of me. Man, I needed to impress people or show people or like, win, Like if somebody, like I had a girl break up with me when I was like in my early 20s because she wasn't sure if I was going to make it. And like, that was great. Like it gave me a lot of fuel, but like it impacted me more than it should. Like I wrestled in college, and when I had my third shoulder surgery, it was over. And I felt like the piece that validated me in my life was wrestling. Like I felt like that was taken away, and I took it super hard. Like I got really depressed. It was really hard on me. And it was like, hey, like looking back, I just tell myself, hey, like you're worthy. Like I love you.
Cool. And it sounds like something super cheesy to say, right? But like that's what's fucking required, right?
Who cares? I don't care what's cheesy. I care what works, bro. I don't give a fuck if it's cheesy. Like there's a lot of cheesy
exactly
shit. Like this might be like laughing, like, oh, these guys are fucking weird. Like, okay, cool. Show me your bank statement, show me the quality of relationships, and then coach me on how to live, because I just care about what works. Like I'm not worried about it. I'm not worried about being cheesy. Like I wear New Balance dad shoes everywhere I go, and I'm with my kids. I wear those old school like lawn mowing shoes. I'm cheesy as fuck, rocking a fanny pack, because like, you know what? It doesn't matter. Like cheesy doesn't matter. It doesn't work.
Which comes back to loving yourself, because like if you don't care about what other people think, and you're not seeking approval or validation, right? That's exactly what we're talking about, right?
There it is.
Awesome, man. The second question is, what is the one mindset shift or breakthrough you've made that you can share that has that has allowed you to level up in your life, marriage, and business?
Ooh, this is might be controversial a little bit, you know, because we're
All
high
right.
drive guys, right?
Mm-hmm.
Falling in love with the process and not being married to the result. Like things we're gonna do is gonna fail sometimes. Things that we're gonna do like aren't gonna work out. And it's the journey that we need to fall in love with. And if we're always addicted to the outcome, well, then we'll always be like half the time we'll be disappointed. Most entrepreneurs I know have failed a bunch of businesses. You know, not everybody like there's very few people like, oh, I woke up one day and like, boom, I just won. I shit excellence. You know, like if you talk to even guys that I know pretty personally, like they've had massive setbacks in the businesses that they're running. Like I've seen like there will be massive setbacks. It's falling in love with the process of who you're becoming and what you're doing, and not like the results. Like you have an expectation for a result. I had an expectation for 10 new clients last weekend. We got one. Now I got a whole bunch of people in the hopper. But like, look, I know what I have to do. I know what I'm doing. I'm still driving on that number for like the next 3 weeks. You know, like that, the process for me to get there, you know, I can either look at that as a failure, I didn't get what I wanted, or look at it as part of my journey that's going to keep me going in the right direction. And so often I think on like in business specifically, we get discouraged when things don't work, especially when 2 or 3 or 4 things in a row don't work. It's like, man, whew. So are we committed or are we not? Right? Are we committed to the outcome or are we not? But we can't be overly committed to the outcome that we like we have to be married to the process to make that happen. Like the process is the journey.
Exactly.
And like I look at my biggest failures when like I get like my dauber down that I didn't hit a goal. Cool. Now what? What do you do? Pout? You know, like what I do to my 27-year self is slap me in the face because I'm being pouty about the business that didn't work out. You know, like what are we doing here? You know, we're and so yeah, it's like being okay with the process, be okay with the grind, and being okay with like same thing with that worthiness piece. Just because it didn't work out the way you wanted to doesn't mean like you're not worthy, you're not loved, and it's not going to work. And I feel like that's where a lot of us struggle.
Man, I was actually having a conversation a couple of days ago with a man, and I told him how I was like frustrated for my lack of results in my business. And he said, and it was really funny, right? It was like an instant shift in perspective. He said, all right, so like, why are you frustrated? And I was like, I'm telling you, like, because of my lack of results in my business, because you know, just like you said, I'm trying to get 10 and I got one. And he was like, okay, so like, what if everything was like, you know, like, what if everything for you to get the results, you know, for you to get where you're looking for, what if everything was simple and easy, right? What if the road was simple and easy and fun? What if everything was easy and fun? And I was like, well, and then that's when I realized that it is fun, that I'm having fun and that I'm enjoying it. And then that my frustration went away because I realized that I was actually enjoying the process. And it's about the process and not like I mean, because the results is the only thing that matter, right? But it's that you gotta grow, right? Either you go through the process or you grow through the process. And well, I choose to pick the second one.
I love that. And think about this, that something just came to me or occurred to me as you said that. Is like, what if what you needed to do was hit your goal? To hit your goal was fail in this first round.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what if we would have gotten
Yeah.
10 right off the bat, but maybe now we'll get 12 or 13 based off of the results of our efforts, right? What if we needed to have that hiccup in the process? Or what if we got 10 and then our internal process didn't support like the scale, and now we have like 8 dissatisfied customers, right? So it's like, look, I'm committed, but like, what if, you know, our story is, oh, not worthy, but what if this is what needed to happen for us to get where we want to go? Because like that's what happens usually when I talk to businessmen. And I've had some great mentors and great people I'm around, and usually they look at their biggest setbacks as the reasons why they're set up is because they had to have
Mm-hmm.
that setback because things didn't work out the way they thought they would, but they kept moving.
Exactly. And if you let that you know, that little failure, or the fact that things didn't go your way discourage you and you give up, like that's when you fucking fail, right?
Or not even get up. You have this energy. Like we attract.
Mm-hmm.
How can you attract when you have like a shitty energy about yourself because you're pouty? How can we can't attract anybody into our life when we're not being the people that we know we could be. Like, so at the end of the day, like it's not even if we stop or quit. It's if we're like, oh man, this didn't work. Like we get whiny and pouty and complaining, like power and purpose. Or if you got power and purpose, you can't have power if you're discouraged.
Mm-hmm. And you cannot fulfill your purpose without courage.
Exactly. And you can't have courage unless you fail. Boom, wrap it up. Perfect. Nailed it.
Awesome, man. The third question, man, is what is a strategy, tactic, or tool that you use to have clarity in your life?
So big thing for me for being clear, this is going to be a weird one. I'll pull it out right now. Where to go? I have it right here. I actually handwrite my daily plan. Like for some reason,
Okay.
like handwriting, like my plan, it sits different for me than when I type it in. Like I don't know what it is. I don't like. I'm sure there's some people. I remember when we were in school. It's like when you write it, you retain it or whatever. I don't know what it is, but having a paper plan like gives me clarity. Like it gives me feedback. It gives me. So if I'm planning on paper, you know, there's all these great tools that I do like to use. Obviously, I have a Google Calendar. Obviously, I have like all these other things. But the drawing board, the initial drawing board for me is always on paper. It's with that pen. And for some reason that like it solidifies it for me. And like, yeah, I'll plan out my day in my planner. Then I'll put it over here. And it seems to like make a big difference. The other thing is for maintaining clarity is like nightly plan, just a nightly wrap up, you know. So is before like as I end my day, before I check off and go set the tone in the home, let me plan tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
Let me plan tomorrow. Cause I know if I wait until I'm too tired and it's like, you know, I'm old now, so it's like 9:30, 10 o'clock. I'm wrapping up and going to bed. I'm not gonna have the energy. I'm like, oh, I'll plan in the morning, you know. But like if I feel like if I plan the night before right here on the paper, and then it gives me permission to not be a halfway house over here, or I'm halfway in the house and halfway on my business. You know what? I've already sorted out. I've already let out all the anxiety, worry, and fear, and whatever, or power and purpose, or figure all that stuff out. Now I can go be present over here. Like, because I find that a lot
Exactly.
of times when we're at work, we're halfway home, and we're at home, we're halfway at work. And if I actually write things down, journal, and like do my paper schedule, it's like it gives me power in that moment to be fully present because I've done all that I can do. And if I need to go back here, be all in on this or be all in over here. But it doesn't give me, it gives me permission to like, and I feel like that's where I've struggled is like, I'm halfway there, I'm halfway here. Well, that's not what I need. That's not what my kids need. That's not what my wife needs. They need to be all in over there. And if I can't be all in over
Mm-hmm.
there, look, go grind. I have permission to go grind as hard as I need to grind. Like, hey, go get it, babe. Go win.
A successful morning starts the night before, right? And I call that cashing out, right? Just like in the restaurant business, in the restaurant industry, every single night you got to cash out, right? You count the money that came in, you count the money that came out, the tips or whatever, and everything has to balance. So I call what I do every night cashing out, right? So I sit down and I reflect on my day. What did I do? What did I didn't do that I said I was going to do? What were my wins? What am I grateful for? What were the lessons? Right? I plan the next day, right? Because I prepare for my morning the night before. And like that allows me to go home, to go with my family at 7 p.m. and be able to be present because I took care of business. I cashed out. Right. So now like there's no like guessing. There's no guesswork on, oh, what did I do or what did I didn't do or what do I have to do? And like I cashed out on my business and now I can go home and be fully present.
I love that.
That's how I call what I do.
I put that in my notes. I like that term. Like call it after action review, whatever it is. The military calls it that. But like cashing out, man. Like withdraw. Like what went great? What needs to do better? Like who am I going to be tomorrow? And then and then when I'm going to bed, it's visualizing, man. It's like, okay, what's my day look like? None of this reactionary shit.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, okay, I'm going to bed at 9. I'm going to be up at 4, or or maybe I'm going to bed at 11. I'm going to be up at 6, right? Because I have to get sleep or I get sick. I swear. But like, you know, okay, I'm going to wake up. I'm going to feel great. But if I don't, here's what I'm going to do. Here are my steps. I'll visualize even like feeling like garbage. I'll visualize being tired. Who am I going to be in that moment? Who am I going to be in that moment when like, I don't want to move? Or when I get the Instagram notification from someone sending me a meme, am I going to sit there on my phone forever? Am I going to keep my phone off until this time? You know, like who am I going to be when that wall hits where lose a little momentum, who's going to show up there? So the visualization piece, like that's what I'm doing. I'm going to bed. It's just visualizing over and over and over, like the first 3 hours of my day. Cause I swear if I dominate like that morning, the rest of the day is history. I'm gonna crush that shit.
Exactly. Intentionality, right? Going
Absolutely.
in it with intention. Then, so the fourth question is, what do you think is one most important habit for you that has contributed greatly to your success? One habit that has contributed greatly to your success in your life, in your marriage, or in your business?
So it's been interesting is this is my most important habit, but like it's something that like I've been traveling a lot lately, so I've been a little bit I haven't really been able to fully express it. Man, exercise. I swear, like
Okay.
exercise. It's not even like a program. It's not like I want to like look a certain way. It's like it's it's getting all the nasty out. It's going hard. It's like doing a sprint. It's doing things that are hard, making my body sweat, making my body work, and like exerting myself physically. Like I don't even say to failure, but like hard. If I hit my maximum heart rate a few times in my workout and I hit that full 100% effort, things change. So it's really that exercise, putting my body in a position where I'm fully exerted, and like I don't want to, and I keep going. So exercise I say is the most important habit for me, to really dial in. To really, like, if I'm working out on a consistent manner, like the rest of it, like it tends to be the tone setter for me energetically.
Man, I heard something about like your body being, like being your subconscious or something like that. Do you know anything about that?
Yeah. Like your body stores your energy. Like your body stores your subconscious for sure.
Wait, so yeah, so like I didn't get it. I heard it, but I didn't get it. Can you maybe, I don't know, go deep
Yeah,
into
I
that?
mean,
Not go deep into that, but
I can share a little bit about that. Like I said, I've had 3 shoulder surgeries. They've been pretty jacked up, and like I went through like an
uh-huh.
emotional intelligence training, and we didn't obviously do anything physical. It's like I sat there in a room for like freaking 16 hours in 2 days, like not allowed to cross my legs or arms. I just sat there like, and I swear, like some of the exercises they took us through released so much tension in like my back and my spine and in like my shoulders and in my neck. And it's like our body it has a memory system. That's why exercise is so important.
Uh-huh.
I also feel like it clears it. It clears out the emotional baggage that we have when we work out. Like as a man, like we're all full of piss and vinegar, and like it's important for us to let all that out through the room, through the exercise like that we have. So I'm not like an energy worker. I mean, Zach Blakeney is a great dude for you to ask about that because he's really into that stuff. But yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
he's way
definitely.
more of an expert. But I definitely believe, given my experience, that like our body literally like stores the energy and traumas and different things that we have, and like it's a manifestation of that.
Great. Um, awesome, man. So the last one is, and then I sent it through Instagram, the thing that I used to actually cash out. I have a document that I created,
Thank you.
and I just sent it to you, man. I wanted to share that with you.
Yeah, I appreciate
Um,
that.
so
Am I
the
red?
last, the
Do I
last,
look red to you? I look really red.
you look handsome.
I'm heated, man. I'm heated. I'm passionate, full of fire.
Awesome, man. So look, the fifth question is 30-second thoughts on tracking and measuring KPIs or whatever. Not in business. Everyone knows that we have to track data, right? And like take decisions based on data and not emotions on but like, do you track or measure anything else in your life?
Absolutely. Like, so I track my workouts. I track my green drinks. I track my
Okay.
gratitude texts to my wife. Like I make sure I connect with her every
Mm-hmm.
day, whether it's like I try and make it physical, documented so she can look back on it when I'm being a turd. But like I try and create moments that connect every day where she feels loved and connected with not try, I do every day. Like I track that actually. Like I actually track that.
Why do you track it though?
So I
Like
have
why?
I have an app that I use. So actually I have an app I have a business partner that created it. And then I track it in the program because we have like a little bot that hits us. So I track it in a couple of places. So the program sends me like a chat bot every day. It says, "Hey, did you score here? Did you score here? Did you score here?" The next thing is like learning every day, right? Am I learning every day? And then am I journaling every day? Like those are my, you know, so we talked about at the beginning, like faith, finance, focus, and fitness. I track all 4 of those areas.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Literally every day I track them. And what's funny is if I look back on the week, if I look back on the day, and if for some reason I don't score, I do view it as a score. Like I'm putting points on the board, you know, like usually like the production of the week and the feeling, like the fire is different when my scores are low, right? Like if I have a 14 week versus a 28 week, you know, like what does that look like? Right. So I'm keeping that score as high as possible and tracking like just those activities. Because if I can control those main aspects of my life, if I'm always learning in my business, if I'm always connecting with my wife, if I'm always working out and taking care of my body, and I'm always connected with higher self, like it's a lot easier to have faith that tomorrow's gonna be better than yesterday, right? Because I'm controlling the things that are most controllable in my life. And and also like what we talked about earlier is focusing on the process. Like this is how I focus on the process, is by tracking those daily inputs, you know, making sure that I'm putting points on the board. That is the process. And there are times where like, man, I've lagged on that, you know, where things like for whatever reason, you know, I'm traveling, you know, I get sick, or I, you know, like I feel like after I get sick, I never jump back in. So I was like, now I have to make up and like business side of things, you know, and like it turned out to be like 2 weeks since my last solid workout. I was like, man, yeah, that happened this month. Actually, I got pretty sick for a little while and didn't work out. You know, just did a couple of walks to count, and I had to count it, you know, because sunlight's good for you. But like it's a you know, when I can stay in those score zones, dude, things tend to take care of themselves. And when I tend to just focus on the business, oh, I'm gonna wake up and just do business. I'm waking up and I'm right in, like everything else kind of falls by the wayside. And like at the end of the day, all those things matter, like in every way, shape, or form. You can't neglect any of those aspects for too long. Otherwise, you're gonna end up with misalignment.
Yeah, like if an area of your life is bleeding, you're gonna find every other area bleeding as well, right?
Soon enough, right? Soon enough. If you don't stop the bleeding in that area, like it will bleed over. It's only a matter of time. Sometimes that time is short, sometimes it's long, but you'll find it for sure. Like there's a lot of businessmen. Like part of the reason why I'm so passionate about family is I know so many successful people that I look up to that'll like, man, I really effed up my first marriage. Like I screwed the pooch. You know, I didn't show up as a man, and now I'm co-parenting and doing other things, and like that's not going to be my future, right? Because I neglected it until it was like urgent box, right? And that's not a way to make it happen. So it's that scoreboard. Like if I look at it like, oh, I haven't worked out, or I haven't been like learning, or I haven't been, you know, doing any of these things, you know, it's like it'll show up.
It'll spill to the other areas.
Oh, absolutely.
So Chase, man, I've really enjoyed our conversation, man. If I don't know, if I want to be part of the program, or if I want, I don't know, to get in contact with you, because I'm just like struggling being a husband, I'm struggling being a father, or I just need some advice or someone to talk to, someone to like, you know, like let all these emotions out, or whatever, right? Like, or let's say that I really like what you're about.
Fine.
Where can I find you? Like, where can I connect with you, man?
Go to Reprogram Everything. There's an application. We do scholarship events. They're fire. Like, dude, we put our heart and soul in these things to create like an experience for people to go through and like really like get clear and get connected with themselves, and then like paint that new future with that internal connection. So we put our heart and soul in that. Like, so you go to Reprogram Everything, fill the app, hit me on social. Instagram's probably the best. You know, The Impossible Chase is my Instagram handle. And yeah, those are the best 2 ways to make that happen. You know, like I feel like supporting men is something that like I'm passionate about, man. I'm passionate about it. I feel like so many people don't have anybody who gives a fuck about them. And I do.
Awesome, man. So, man, like, are you in Nashville right now, or what time are you
No,
flying
I
over
leave
there?
tomorrow morning.
Great. So my flight leaves tomorrow at 5:30 p.m. So I guess we're not gonna fly together.
We're not. I hopefully not, because I like we'll see how Southwest goes, right? You know, I'm flying to Southwest. I got a backup flight just in case. But yeah, so I leave tomorrow morning, and super excited, man. Super excited to see you out there. It's gonna be a ton of fun, man. We're gonna bring the heat.
I'm excited as well, man. So I'll see you tomorrow. No, wait, not tomorrow. On Thursday. I'll see you on Thursday. Today is Tuesday. Tomorrow is Wednesday. So I'll see you on Thursday, man. I'm excited. to, you know, get to connect with you, get to talk to you a little bit more in person, and to you know, to the other man, Nick, and all of and everyone. And it was great chatting with you, man. And really appreciate you being here. I'm very grateful, and thank you, man.
Yeah, me too, man. I appreciate you. I appreciate your story, man. That's powerful share. It's good, man. I love it. I love your journey, dude. Thank you for sharing that with us, and mostly with me. I don't care. Everybody else, it's about me right now. But yeah, thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing that, man. I appreciate that.
Awesome, man. Awesome. Well, bye-bye, and I'll see you soon.
See you, buddy.
Thank you for watching the Gentleman's Success, Happiness, and Fulfillment Talk podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, share it with one friend, leave us a comment, and let us know. 99% of people never leave a review or comment, but we love and are very thankful with the 1% of you who do. If there's something or someone you want to see on this podcast, send me a message on Instagram at Alex_Ramirez 1020 and let me know. As a thank you for that, I have an amazing surprise for each and every one of you who does take the time to leave us a comment or review on YouTube or one of the major podcasting platforms